Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are in the world today, and welcome back to the second day of the Mojaloop Business Conference. Today we have another packed agenda, but there's a few housekeeping actions I wanted just to go through first with everyone again. So first and foremost, the session is being recorded. You've all been admitted to the session with mute and with cameras off, but you're welcome to use your cameras later on, especially in the networking break. Our sessions are designed with Q&A in mind, so feel free to submit your questions in chat. Whoever is part of the moderating team will look at them, but also if you want to use your hand and ask your question aloud, if the session looks like that's a good format, please do think about that. And we have breakout room discussion roundtables as part of our format this time at the conference, because we really want to get to know each other. And as a consequence, we really want to hear your thoughts and ideas and bring your camera to those. So today's session moves on from yesterday's theme somewhat. Today, we're looking a little bit wider at the wider ecosystem of what is around the Mojaloop and the reality of instant interoperable payments. We've got three main sessions that we're going to run today, and we'll talk a bit more of those as we go. But fundamentally, we're going to look today at some of the partner organizations that Mojaloop sits in an ecosystem alongside, and we're going to look at why open source. How does it actually make a difference to the story in a little bit more detail, both in our community, but also in a parallel community in the Digital Public Goods Alliance world. So first of all, and fundamentally, we want to talk a little bit about what is Mojaloop today, because there's a little bit more of a publication coming our way. We've got a new white paper coming out, hopefully by the end of the week. And I wanted to give you a preview of some of this just as we start the session today. So it will be available to download on our website, but fundamentally, here are some of the messages that we have in that paper about what exactly is Mojaloop and how we think about instant interoperable payments. You heard a lot from Costa yesterday about the reality of financial inclusion and why it's important that we think about instant interoperable payments. Again, fundamentally, a vibrant digital payments market starts by making it really easy for everyone in the ecosystem to interact really simply. And there's a lot of players in that ecosystem today, from ride-hailing to insurtech to agricultural value chain actors, but there's also the microfinance, the MSMEs, the FSMGs. Everybody needs to work together. Everybody has different needs from their financial service provider, but they all want to interact and move money fast, easy, safe, and that includes across borders. But the reality is that in many markets, it is efficient, and there's a lot of effort to make that work from the customer's perspective. So what we think about when we think about financial inclusion, digital payments interoperability is three elements. We think interoperability. We need inclusive rails that ensure that last mile customers can send or spend with everyone in the formal financial ecosystem digitally and cost effectively, no matter where they choose to bank or how old their mobile phone is. We believe that instant push payments are at the center of this because it most closely mirrors the effect of cash. Push payments are settled instantly to the recipient, which helps to build trust. It helps underserved to budget, and it helps merchants improve their liquidity and drive the foundations of economic growth. But fundamentally, we also believe that the last mile innovators are central to the story. And so we need to bring together these various actors who are doing the hard work in the last mile. We think part of that story is potentially the open banking, open payments movement around 3PPI as well, which has in India facilitated 70 times growth in transaction volumes by really answering the question of digital payments for what. So one of the big questions we often talk about is, what are the characteristics of instant push payments? What fundamentally makes up an instant push payment? And we see this as part of the story. Funds are transferred almost instantly, meaning recipients can spend and send their money straight away. Both payee and payer can see their real balance right away, just like counting cash in their purse, which is a fantastic budgeting aid. We also believe that for shopkeepers, they see their money arrive at the same time as goods leave their shop. This builds confidence in the ecosystem and it improves liquidity. Shopkeepers immediately receive funds, they buy more stock, they develop a digital local economy. And we believe in robust settlement reduction measures. For example, the pre-funded model is very prevalent. It ensures financial inclusions and out of pocket and waiting for the money to be released. So it's very easy to recognize the characteristics, and you can see that in a closed loop system quite a lot. This is the reality of what mobile money has been able to achieve. But when you go to look at interoperable instant payments, those characteristics are also fundamental and really important to achieve. And interoperable instant payments are foundational to creating that vision that the customer of the smallest MFI can be connected to the largest customer of the largest bank. So we focus on rails. We don't get involved in propositions at Mojaloop Foundation. We focus on good technology that hub operators can run to create rails. So what are the good characteristics of rails? Well, we want to ensure open access for those that adopt Mojaloop. We think about what software might help to ensure that any regulated account holding institution, be they a bank, a wallet solution provider, an MFI, a SACCO, a neobank, can use the rails as well as any overlay service provider. We think about push payments, obviously. We don't get involved with pull payments rails, and that's a separate ecosystem, a separate set of rails. We think about pay me rather than pay my account. So fundamentally, customers have the ability to move their service provider fairly easily and retain their unique identifiers. We think about inclusive and consumer protecting common design elements such as confirmation of payee and charges transparency. And we think about the future and the support for things like CBDC, which we heard a little bit about yesterday. So in a nutshell, Mojaloop's software is enterprise API-first payments clearing software that can connect all these market actors to the same system in order to create interoperable payments rails as a core capability. We at Mojaloop Foundation do not run the software. That is the role of the ecosystem players in the markets. But we also have in our toolkit are tools that support a scaled rollout and swift onboarding of DFSPs and banks to those rails with reference UI and demos to showcase features. And then we hope to extend this over time, but we really want to build a marketplace model where the fintech actors can really showcase what they do in the story as well and can bring new technology solutions to market. And that's part of our roadmap strategy. So again, fundamentally, we are ground up. We've been designed with mobile payments and mobile money enablement at our core, ready to connect multiple different types of actors to the same rails. All the funds are in bank accounts. Settlement is between participants, it's a hub-managed process, and we are not settlement rails. So fundamentally, we connect to things like RTGS in local markets, or sometimes we're also experimenting with CBDC as a wholesale settlement choice. And we do not replace existing infrastructure. So a big part of our remit in terms of why open source for payments infrastructure is the fact that payments interoperability done well requires collaboration. It requires scheme design that recognizes and includes all types of actor in the system. It requires excellence in liquidity management and settlement risk management. We believe that modern software needs to be modular because forever is a very long time. And we think a lot about that in our design process, in our open design process. We believe in privacy and security standards by design and harnessing the new technologies that are part of that to make sure that we are future-proofed. And we think about API standards and standardized behaviors. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But fundamentally, business and use case focus is how we deliver financial inclusion. Software is the starting point, but we want to support schemes to really think about what do they need in their technology to get lasting market impact. So as I said before, a big part of our solution is about excellence and settlement risk minimization. So in collaboration with good scheme design, we think that maybe pre-funds in the way that the e-money systems do it could well change so that the liquidity needs are lower in the systems. Minimum liquidity for the payer DFSPs across all the various systems that are out there. We think that the ability to use credits in the system immediately to count against your available liquidity can also help with that liquidity minimization. And we think about how can we make settlement faster, because that, again, helps with reducing the amount of liquidity needing to be held across the system. But on the payee side, we also look at perfect confidence. How can a payee know for sure that they can clear the money to the end user because they know that those funds will be available to them with certainty? And so we look at the role of cryptographic keys in that process, and the technologists can talk a lot about the details behind that, but it's a big part of our kind of core value proposition. We fundamentally believe that for users to feel confidence in the system, there is a need for a level of standardization experience so the customers will feel they can trust the system. What we don't do, however, is provide UI. So what we have in our toolkit is a set of protocols that help participants, DFSPs, banks, telcos, MFIs, and SACCOs think about what does good look like. And so there's the three-part protocol: discovery, agreement, transfer. At the discovery phase, we help users to think about aliases to simplify customer experience. We focus on customer choice, the pay me rather than pay my account as part of that. We look at confirmation of payee as standard as part of the protocol and how to enable that into the story. And we look at decentralized personalized information to make sure that those who manage KYC are the ones who hold the personal data. At the agreement phase, we've got features that help schemes think about scheme checks in flight so that money only lands in accounts that are ready to accept it, and that we can make sure that the tiered KYC thinking can be embedded into the story. We also, via the protocol, help schemes think about fees transparency and making sure that customers are aware before they authorize money movement as part of this quote-in step. And in the third phase of our protocol, that's where we really dig in on the settlement risk minimization and instant funds to the end recipient. So that three-part protocol is fundamental to the Mojaloop core design. It's a blueprint that's available to any that want to think about these principles in their scheme design. And the hub itself is facilitating the routing of that protocol. And recently, in the last year, we added a new class of participant to the scheme, a third-party participant in overlay service, which fundamentally is letting us think about the role of paytech and fintech in a different way in the ecosystem without needing new actors to kind of reinvent the wheel of e-money management. And we think it's a really exciting way to bring biometrics to the story as well. But fundamentally, adopters are in charge of their destiny. And Mojaloop Foundation supports adopters in multiple ways, but we fundamentally don't run the rails. This is why the partner network that we're building is fundamentally important to get in the story of financial inclusion and interoperability to market. We provide the software asset, the use case blueprints, scheme design, best practice thinking, and training programs around the Mojaloop technology. But the partner ecosystem that you've been hearing about yesterday, and we'll hear lots more through the course of the week, is where we actually get Mojaloop running in market. And the call to action to everyone on the call today is to think about what is your role in the Mojaloop ecosystem and how do we support you best in that process. We need running hubs, and at the center of that is how the ecosystem gets started.